Hi everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. It's Thursday night and every other Thursday night I jump on and share a technique with you. And then the alternating Thursday night I do a mystery challenge. So tonight it's a technique and I decided to do stained glass. And it's interesting because I've had this on my list to do for a while, and I saw a live, recorded a replay of a live that Sarah Douglas did doing stained glass. So I thought today's might be the day because she did it. So it looks so cool. And it's been a technique that I haven't done for a while. So I'm going to play with this. She did it on vellum, and I pulled out some of I think it's called basic vellum that is in the mini catalog. There is polka dots and diagonals and leaves, I believe. And so I'm going to do the one with the polka dots. I'm using flowers and I thought the polka dots would be really pretty. So I'm going to switch over, pulled out one of my absolute favorites from the annual catalog called Happiness Abounds. I just absolutely love this. The whole bundle, the designer series paper is absolutely stunning, but these images are perfect for doing some coloring. Hey, Wendy, welcome. So these images are 90%. So they actually, if you look at this, it's a photopolymer. If you look at that size, it is bigger than what the image is on the front. So that's the stamp set I'm using. Here's my supplies. So I'm going to use black. I thought black, the color, hopefully, hey, Darlene, would be striking against the black. So I've cut this 4 1/4 by 11. Oops, I'm going to dimensional piece. There we go. So I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. Score, not cut. Ooh, almost cut that. And then, as always, fold into the mountain or the raised line and use your bone folder to get a good finish. Okay, so there is my card base. Hello. All right, so I went ahead and cut. Now, this is one of the pieces. This is the polka dot piece from the vellum that's in the mini catalog. I think that's the front side. And I've also cut a piece of basic white because I find that if I colored this and just put this on the black, I don't think it's going to show. So we'll see what happens and what it looks like when I actually get it colored. But I cut a piece of basic white, the same size as my vellum, which is 4 inches by 5 1/4, just in case I want to put this behind. And then I've got my 4 inch by 5 1/4 for the inside of the card and my sentiment pieces. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I think that's the front. So what you want to do is you want to stamp on the front. So I think that's the front. So I'm going to stamp this big flower and the smaller flower and then some leaves. And I'm using StazOn. Now, I don't pull out my StazOn very often, but I find that, I hope this is going to be true, I find that the memento doesn't dry immediately. And what I want to do is I'm going to stamp this on the front and then I'm going to turn it over and color on the back with the blends. So I'm hoping the StazOn will dry a little faster and I still may bring out my heat tool. So I'm going to just do some random stamping. Somewhat random stamping. Ooh, you see it's still, my StazOn is quite juicy and so it's going to take a minute to dry. So I'm not going to rush turning this over because I don't want it to smudge. I'm trying to keep my fingers out of it too. And then I'm going to put some leaves. Trying to be a little strategic where I'm stamping. Ooh, that was thick. I've got some, ooh, it slides a little bit, so it's juicy. So when you're stamping, be a little cautious. I'm going to have some lines that are thicker than others with your ink. Now, I'm going to take this. I'm going to grab my tweezers. I'm going to take my heat tool because this, I can see this is juicy and not dry. And if I turn this over, it's going to smudge. So I'm just taking my heat tool and just drying the StazOn ink so that it doesn't smudge. And I realized, I think I want another, oops, I want another leaf in here, like that. The reason I'm not doing it in the middle, I'm going to put my sentiment across the middle, and there's no point in spending time stamping and then coloring if your sentiment's going to go across the middle and cover up that. All right, so making sure that it's dry so that when I turn this over and start to color, my ink doesn't smudge. Okay, so what you want to do now, as I said, turn it over, and now we're going to do some coloring. So I grabbed Parakeet Party, Orchid Oasis, and Sweet Sorbet. So I'm going to start with the light, no, that's the light Parakeet Party. Easy to do, the leaves. Let's use the brush end. So you're coloring the back. And I'll turn it over in a minute and show you. So I'm going to do all my leaves. I'm going to go over and do some dark as well on these leaves, the dark Parakeet Party. But we'll get the light done. So we stamped on the front. And I think if you used the Tuxedo Black Memento and dried it, you might be okay too. So you can see, well, you probably can't. It's pretty light. Yeah, that's a good idea, Darlene. Add a glue dot. That drives me crazy. Okay, so you can see now by putting white behind it, you can start to see the color. So I'm going to add some dark in here just to, because this light it's quite light. So just kind of adding some of the dark Parakeet Party kind of on the edge. Just blending a little bit. There we go. All right. So there is the leaves done. All right. So I'm going to now go and do some of the flowers. So let's start with this little one down here. This is the light Sweet Sorbet. So you could use your markers as well if you wanted to. I just always grab my blends. I completely seem to have switched over to using blends. Although I do have a marker here for the sentiment, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to go over up to the big flower. I've also got Orchid Oasis here, so I'm going to kind of try and again, as I always do when I use my blends, I always start and do the whole image with the light blend. And then I go and add some of the dark and do some blending. And again, this is alcohol. This will take, it dries fairly quickly, but I'm not going to be in a real hurry to turn this over because I don't want it to smudge either. All right, and maybe this one over here. So there's lots of, you want a line image. If you're going to do this stained glass, you want something that you can color. I wondered if the striped, what was it called? Layered stripes? Layered stripes, I think. Striped layers. It's the background stamp. I thought that would look kind of cool. Done. That was kind of just as I was sitting here waiting to go live, I was thinking about what other stamp sets I could use. And I wondered about that one. It might look like a kind of true stained glass. All right, so there's those colored. And now we'll just go in and add some dark. Not going to be, there we go, just in the middle. And kind of on the edges of the flowers. Not being real careful with the way I'm coloring, because I don't know if you've noticed, stained glass isn't perfect. I've never done stained glass. Who's done stained glass out there? It's always something I've wanted to try. It's kind of cool. All right, and we're just going to do some a little bit there, and we'll just kind of blend this a little bit. Now, when you're doing this, this is a bit of, you know, there's a few techniques that you kind of, I say to myself, don't give up on this. Just kind of keep going, because it looks like you're kind of making a hot mess. But keep going and see how it looks. All right, let's turn this over and just see. So there's the kind of color. I think it's going to look even prettier. I'm not going to push that down when I put it on the white. At least that's my hope. Now let's add some of this. This is Orchid Oasis. Again, I'm going to do the light, and then I'm going to go over it and add some dark in. Right. I love using vellum. Vellum just kind of adds a real, I don't know, elegant look. I don't know if this one's going to be so elegant, but a layer of vellum I just love adding to a card. And this this vellum that's got the pattern to it, whether it's the polka dots or the diagonal stripes or the leaves. The leaves are actually my favorite. They're all white leaves. This polka dot reminds me of a blouse I had when I was a kid. It was kind of like that flocked material. So it was white cotton and then had little flocked white polka dots on it. All right, so then let's add. Hey, Betty. Hey, Maya. Welcome from the Netherlands. Hey, Mern. All right, so this is stained glass. So it's I've stamped the front using Stays on ink. You could use Memento. Just make sure you let it dry really well. I heated this to make sure that my ink was dry, because I have a new Stays on pad. Just adding some kind of dark. This is Orchid Oasis. Okay. And then we'll just kind of go over, blend this a little bit. So I'm coloring on the back. So I stamped on the front and I'm coloring on the back of the vellum. All right, let's see how this is. Now I think I'm going to just take my heat tool. Hey, Nancy. And just kind of give it a good, just kind of, oopsie. Just make sure that this is dry. I'm very cautious because I've had this and done this technique where it smudged, particularly with the whatever you're using for black. All right, so there we go. Now I have black. So if I just put this, now you will see the white polka dots really well on this, but you kind of lose the color at least. Yeah, I agree, Betty. Memento would, you could leave it, you could stamp it and then leave it for sure. Even this Stays on, I could have just stamped it and then left it. So that's what it looks like without the white behind it. Now, for this, when you put the white behind it, you kind of lose the polka dots. So you guys can tell me which you like. Now, when I do, where's my sentiment pieces? So what I was going to do with the sentiment is this. So we'll put the sentiment across the middle. I don't know. So you like the white background, Darlene? Yeah, okay. I think you definitely lose, like you don't see the vibrant colors if it's just really lost in there if I don't use the white. Now, when I use vellum, I don't adhere the whole piece down because with vellum, sometimes you can see the adhesive. So I'm going to put some Stampin' Seal just across the middle of my piece of basic white. And then, so my two pieces are cut the same size. They're 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to line the top and bottom up. And then, actually, it's interesting. This vellum, you can't actually see that Stampin' Seal. I'm impressed because often when you use Stampin' Seal, you actually see, yeah, Nancy, I kind of like the polka dots too, but I like the vibrancy of the color when you do it. Did I emboss the vellum? Or it's pattern vellum, Betty. It's the vellum that is in the current mini catalog. I believe it's called Basic Vellum, and there's polka dots, diagonal stripes, and leaves. It's really pretty. I think it's 12 by 12. All right, let's glue this down. Typically, my Melva trick is I leave the lid off of my glue for a while. That's not a good thing. All right, so there we'll go. Glue that down. Make sure it hits. Okay, so let's leave that for a minute. Now, I pulled out the stamp that says sending many thanks, but all I want is the many thanks. And I'm using a black, the basic black Stampin' Right marker. I'm going to use the brush end, and I'm just going to take and just kind of have the brush end flat, and I'm going to go over just the many thanks. And that's a way to stamp just a part of a sentiment, for example. Now I'm going over this, trying to make sure that it's quite juicy. And then you huff on it. So you can't see me do this, but just kind of your warm breath. We'll see how this works. So I'm just going to take and now stamp. And gently peel off. Oh, that didn't work so well because I've got some marks. So let me clean my stamp, and I'm going to try that again. Just going to clean this just a little bit, and then we'll stamp again. I got some black marks. You may not be able to see that, but I can. Now, my stamps that I use, the Stays On, I am going to have to use Stays On Cleaner on. So I'm going to turn that over, and now I'm going to try this again. Not sure where those black marks came from, but we'll try it again. And if it doesn't work this time, we may have to go with it and just add some embellishments. You can always hide things with embellishments. The other thing you can do is put a Post-it note on top of it and hide. I've got a little bit of black, but I'm okay with that. I will I'll see if I can put an embellishment or something. Okay, we'll put that on like that. So yeah, you could mask your stamp, and then just color the, and you could use ink instead of your marker. But this works. Vellum adhesive. Oh, okay. Yeah, I tend to see this is lifting up my edges. So I think what I'm going to do is use glue dots. So when I do this, if my edges kind of lift up like they have, I will just take a glue dot and try to be a little bit strategic about where I put the glue dots. In this case, I'm going to put it underneath this leaf. And I don't think, yeah, you're not going to see this. Sometimes because I've used the heat gun on this as well, you'll get it curling a little bit, but these glue dots aren't showing. So glue dots are amazing things. So just putting glue dots to kind of stick down the edges that are deciding to pop up here. All right, there we go. That's good. Okay, so we'll put that across the middle. But before I do that, I grabbed the two. I love this ribbon. This is the woven metallic ribbon, and I've got it in Orchid Oasis and Sweet Sorbet. So I'm just going to wrap the two strands together a couple of times around my hand, pull it off, pinch it together. Pinch it together. Now I'm going to put a little bit of Stampin' Seal right where my sentiment will go, just to kind of pop that down like that. Holds it for the most part, and then we'll use some dimensionals. This is long. I always stagger across so that my middle of my sentiment doesn't sag. And I always put enough so it doesn't sag in the middle and doesn't kind of, the staggering helps it not wobble from side to side. There we go. All right, and then I grabbed some, these, I love these. These are the matte decorative dots. See, I have a whole bunch of packages because I ran out of Sweet Sorbet. Can you figure out what color my favorite is? I have like 4. No, a few big ones. I just love Sweet Sorbet. So let's carry on the tradition with Sweet Sorbet. I'm going to put one there because I have to cover up. That looks kind of funny. So let's try and do something like that. I don't know. That looks kind of funny, but I'm covering up a spot. There we go. I don't know. Looks kind of funny. Maybe I'll push this over. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. All right. We got dots on there. All right. I love these matte decorative dots. These are in the in colors, the current in color, the newest in colors. These are not the ones that are retiring this year. All right. So the last thing we need to do is something for the inside of the card. Since I've got my stays on, my very juicy stays on. Oops, that didn't work very well. And I have to press hard. There we go. StazOn is a little sticky if you've never played with it. It is permanent ink. So when I say you have to use a different cleaner, you cannot use regular cleaner on these. If you don't clean these with StazOn or some special cleaner, that will stay black. So I will be cleaning these, and I'm just going to heat this. Only because my StazOn is quite juicy. The other thing about StazOn is on basic white, you can kind of sometimes see through. Like I stamped this image and it wasn't a nice stamp, and so I turned it over. I actually stamped right over top of it because sometimes you can see, if I had stamped it on the other side, I may be able to see the black coming through from where I had stamped on the other side. So just be cautious. All right, there we go. Not real happy about my little oopsie and putting the sentiment, or my little having to put them there, but embellishments are amazing things for covering up oopsies. So there we go. That's the stained glass technique. If you have never tried that before, you can create some really beautiful images using it, just because the ink isn't perfect behind, and you get that kind of looking through the stained glass and the light. All right, so there we go. There's a card. Now, I will not be live on Saturday. So anybody in Canada who might be interested in getting some great deals on retired product, I'm having a BOGO sale, which means you will get the retired product for free when you place an equivalent order in my online store. So if you chose $50 in retired product, you would put an order in. for $50, and you would get the retired product for free. Just pay postage on it if you can't pick it up locally. So it's a great deal. You're really getting 2 for 1. You're getting new product and as well as retired product. So that's going Saturday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in a Facebook group. And if you are interested, the link to my Facebook group is on my Facebook page and on my Facebook group. So you can pop over there. The links to those groups and the page are underneath this video. So if you live in Canada and you might be interested in some retired product, there are 2 demos. So myself and Diane Evans are doing this BOGO sale. And so there are actually 4 albums. We each have 2 albums. We will be adding more albums. Sorry, we'll be adding more items to one of our albums. I think it's album 2. We're adding the items to tomorrow. And those items are from the last 2 celebrations, as well as the mini catalog that just finished up at the end of December. So that starts 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. We will be live in the group doing some demos. So if you want to join us, you're interested in retired products, come see what we've got, or just come and see what we've got, the demos or the cards and things that we're sharing. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. I will be back live at 12 noon Pacific on Sunday. Hope you have a great evening. Happy stamping. Bye.